US President Barack Obama has taken what he calls the most important step to fight climate change. Now he's selling his new plan to the American people. On Monday, he explained how it will work and why now is the time for action.
We're the first generation to feel the impact of climate change and the last generation that can do something about it. And that's why I committed the United States to leading the world on this challenge, because I believe there is such a thing as being too late.
The ambitious plan cuts carbon emissions from coal power plants by 32% from 2005 levels by the year 2030. Mr. Obama says Americans are already feeling the effects of climate change. Over the past 15 years, 14 have been the planet's warmest years on record. So what's the breaking point for climate change? Well, some experts say it could be just 2 degrees Celsius. And if the planet warms more than that, the odds of climate catastrophes are very high. But there's one place already seeing the effects of climate change. John Sutton shows us an island nation that's starting to disappear.
This is the Marshall Islands, a country way out in the Pacific. It's already super tiny, and it's about to get smaller. Why is that? The country's sinking, or the ocean's rising, depending on how you look at it. Way out here, there's no room for debate. Climate change is real, and people see it happening now.
We were in the house when the water came in.
When I looked at the window, wow, I was so scared. I was just looking for my children to get out.
There was water on the bed that I sleep on. It was kind of like a dream, but it was real.
On my visit to the Marshall Islands, everybody had a story to tell about rising seas, disappearing beaches, and frequent flooding. The islands just barely peak out above sea level. If seas rise, even just a meter or two, scientists say this country will vanish. How do you process that information? And where would you go if climate change wiped your country off the map? If you're Marshallese, there's a surprising answer. Arkansas, Springdale to be exact.
Northwest Arkansas has the largest number of Marshallese in the continental United States.
Since the 1980s, the Marshallese have been coming to Springdale in search of jobs and education. The consulate tells me 10,000 Marshallese already live in this area. There are so many Marshallese here, there's actually a government consulate. And with climate change, more people are probably on the way.
A person called me and said, Carmen, have you thought about climate change refugees?
When there's a big wave coming, you can hear it all night long.
Cynthia grew up in Rita, a neighborhood on the water. She moved to Arkansas last year in part because of terrifying floods. Houses were washed away, and neighbors told me they woke up floating.
I feel safe here because I don't hear the scary sound of the ocean. I don't have to sleep and think about the wave coming in.
Cynthia's nephew Mark arrived in February, leaving his girlfriend and 2 children behind in the islands. He's trying to earn enough money to bring them here, far from the ocean.
They would have to come here to live here because if global warming keeps making the floods worse, in the long run, the Marshall Islands will disappear.
Cynthia and Mark live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 8 other family members. It sounds cramped, but that's kind of like home.
I'm used to sleeping with my children and my nieces, my nephews. That's how we usually sleep. That's how we get close to one another.
It's impressive just how much of the island culture survives in a landlocked place like Arkansas. This is a Kaimem, a child's first birthday party. It's maybe one of the most important celebrations in the Marshallese culture. It's a rite of passage and a celebration of survival. I was lucky enough to be invited to 2 Kaimems, one in the Marshall Islands and one in Arkansas.
If our country sinks, so much of our culture will go as well. There's no coconut trees, there's no breadfruit, bandanas, no reef fish. I mean, we're beginning to lose our culture with where we are.
Back in the Marshall Islands, I met the rest of Mark and Cynthia's family and had them send a video message. They suggested a song. It's called God Bless Marshall Islands. It's a farewell tune, I'm told, sometimes played at a funeral.
I really came here because of my children. And now that we're here, they can be safe, but I like to go back home.
For now, moving to Springdale is a choice for most Marshallese. But within our lifetimes, flooding associated with climate change could start forcing people out.
The impact would be that we will probably have a population explosion.
In other words, Springdale, Arkansas could become the new Marshall Islands.
We're just starting to build our foundation. How we start now will affect our future for our kids.
But here's the thing. If nothing changes, Marshallese kids won't have any choice about whether to move back to their home. Those islands, their country, won't exist. And that's my fault and yours if you're living in the industrialized world. It's up to us to cut carbon emissions, and fast. Otherwise, what now is a climate migration will likely become a refugee crisis.
Sorry. You know, thinking about my father, whose body is there on Majuro, and all the loved ones, even though they pass away, but their bodies are there. If the islands sink, then it's like losing them forever.
And you can read more about the Marshall Islands on our website, CNN.com. It's part of CNN's 2 Degrees series about the effects of climate change. Well, that does it for this edition of CNN Newsroom. I'm Lynda Kinkade. I'll have your headlines in just a moment.